Welcome to the Podunk Polymath, a podcast dedicated to the sentiments of a secular, sarcastic, screwed-up Southern SJW and skeptic. I'm your host, Chris. Come on in. This is episode 23 of the Podunk Polymath podcast. Thanks again for joining me. I'm not going to do too much in the pre-ramble this week. This is a special episode. This is going to be a two-parter. The first part is going to be about an hour, and the second part is going to be an hour and 10, maybe. The subject is polyamory, and I have a round table of 6 people, so I hope you all enjoy it. So it was really informative for me, and I enjoyed doing it. Part of the reason I wanted to do it was to find out more about this. So, also, of course, I forgot to mention that I have a couple more Twitter followers. Timmy Geisen, another fucking Steve Jobs clone, which I'm getting pissed off of. And also Roseanne Hams and Richard E. Wackrow. So I want to thank them for following me, except for the Steve Jobs cloning, you'll fuck right off. Also, I was on Inciting Incident, and the episode for non-patrons was released previous Friday to the airing of this episode, so go check that out. Yeah, so this episode was fun to record. I learned a lot, and I think you'll really enjoy it. Also, wanted to plug the Polyaskery podcast, which is spinning off of this one, but it hasn't even recorded episode, but there's already a discussion page, and I think a group as well that you can join, a closed group. So I'll put the links up to those in the show notes. But anyway, enjoy part 1.
I'm Dustin.
And I'm Wesley.
We host the Atheist Nomads podcast.
We're godless geeks who take a skeptical look at
politics, religion, science, technology, and history.
We also interview leaders in the atheist, skeptic, and humanist community.
Check us out at atheistnomads.com.
That's atheistnomads.com.
Hi, this is Trav Mamone, host of the By Any Means podcast. Join me every week as I interview bloggers, podcasters, writers, and activists about the intersections of atheism, humanism, racial justice, feminism, LGBTQ rights, and other social issues. You can subscribe to the podcast through iTunes, Spreaker, and Stitcher, and you can read my blog at freethoughtblogs.com/byanymeans. And remember, that's bi spelled B-I. Come take a listen to the musings of a queer humanist because, hey, aren't we all a little bi-curious?
Welcome to another edition of the Palaver here in the Podunk Polymath podcast. This week we have a super special edition because we have a round table of 6 people, and we're talking about polyamory. Now, let me go ahead and read the definition I have there for that. A polyamorous person is a person who has the ability to have multiple meaningful relationships, either sexually, emotionally, or intimately, or combinations of any of the 3. And polyamory, the long definition, is from poly, many, amor, love, the state or practice of maintaining multiple sexual and or romantic relationships simultaneously. With the full knowledge and consent of all the people involved, that's important. Polyamorous, overrelated to the practice of polyamory, as in polyamorous relationships. A relationship involving more than 2 people or open to involvement by more than 2 people. A polyamorous person is a person who prefers or is open to romantic relationships with more than one partner simultaneously. So you kind of get that. We're going to get that out of the way. Let me go ahead and introduce our guests. First is Shane. His pronouns are he, him, his. He's 35-year-old cis white male. His poly status, he's lived in the quad. His wife dates both and the other couple. And I date the other wife. He dates the other wife. He also has a side girlfriend and a FWB, friends with benefits. Okay, that's what it means. How's it going, Shane?
It's going good. I'm glad to know that you're dating the other girlfriend.
I know, me too.
Hey, I mean, if you really want to, Chris, let me tell you what she likes.
Oh dear.
Just what's
I'll expect an email on that.
Oh.
Okay.
I wanted to interrupt you so badly on that. Thank you for saying that, Shane.
This will not be a safe for work conversation. Good Lord. No, there's really not anything additional about me. I'm low key in the movement on both polyamory and secular, and I just try to help out where I can and do what I can, and just enjoy my life.
Good deal, man. Good deal. All right, next we have Jeannie, 45, bi, cis, kinky-ish, mostly subby, currently solo poly and living in Vermont, actively in some variant of poly over 20 years. Apparently she's fucked up a lot within several types of relationship styles. She has a few exes, don't know if they live in Texas, gotten some really great formers out of it. Sapiosexual, turn my brain first. Hello, Jeannie.
Hi, how's it going?
It's going. Anything additional?
Oh, we'll get there, I'm sure.
Okay. But nothing on that.
Not right now.
Okay. Then we have Kory, a 36-year-old cis female, non-monogamous, in a committed emotional relationship, swinger, submissive masochist. Kory, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
All right. Anything you want to add for the intro that I missed?
No.
Okay. Okay.
I'm killing it, girl.
I know.
We have Leigh, cis male, queer, BDSM switch, currently with primary, who is my submissive. His submissive. I keep messing up.
She's mine.
Oh. Wait, Shane's willing to share.
I mean, I'm just
not really
saying.
sure.
Isn't that in the polyamory handbook that we all have to share everybody? I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
I think you're right.
Anytime we get around each other, it's just a huge orgy, and we're just like, "Oh, here, have my wife. It's okay." Yeah, no problem.
That's why I like being a swinger, because you literally just walk in and it's like, fuck.
Okay, so while poly, currently monogamous to help build on primary relationship, have been in triad and friends with benefits relationship. FWB is apparently a acronym I wasn't familiar with before. Okay, Heina, 28, gender non-binary femme who uses they them pronouns, kinky switch, pan, bisexual, poly status is going for going on 10 years, poly for going on 10 years, only had one monogamous relationship, got a boyfriend and a husband, Danny, as well as dating one other person into casual sex. Oh, that's a bonus. How's it going, Heina?
Pretty good. And I guess I can drop this intriguing teaser in that part of what got me to identify as poly is that I was raised as a Muslim.
Yes, actually, I heard you on other things. I heard you on, well, I won't say what podcast, but I heard you on a podcast once talking about it. And that's probably, I think that's the first time I actually heard about you. So I'm actually really glad you're on because I've wanted to talk to you for a while, and you are an awesome writer. I like your blog. So, oh yeah,
Thank you.
I met her at ReasonCon too. Well, just briefly. She may not remember, but anyway, okay. And then we have Danny, the aforementioned Danny. He, him, his 30-year-old disabled man, kinky but non-practicing for the most part. Married to Heina, not currently dating or seeing anyone else, mostly due to the disability part. How's it going, Danny?
All right, today's a pretty good day. I'm also pansexual / bisexual.
Okay. So, okay, we got all that out of the way. Let me kind of go around on this question. How out are all y'all? And we'll start with Jeannie since she's first on here.
I'm out selectively. If I tell somebody at work and then the word gets around, I at least chose the time and the place that I told somebody. I'm more than happy to, and have been in like a triad relationship where I'm happy to walk down the street holding hands with each other. But it's not something that I put online, I guess. It's not, I don't advertise it, but I also don't hide it either.
Okay.
If it comes up, it comes up. It's kind of like my atheism, you know.
Okay, that's cool. How about you, Leigh?
Well, I'm since I actually have a couple of kids and everything, I am out to them. They're 16 and 21, so and I've been out with them about being poly probably, about 10 years now. And for the rest of my world, I try not to bring that out into the work because you don't want to have any repercussions by anyone who's not just very enlightened. But if somebody was to come up and ask me, I would be more than willing to share that. But at that point, they've opened the door, and so they get what they get.
Okay. Heina, how about yourself?
I mean, I'm out as pretty much out as you can be, as far as just, if you Google me, you'll find out everything you wanted to know and didn't want to know. But as far as coming out, I mean, my friends all know, select members of my family that I'm close to and who are chill know, but I'm not out to my family because that would just be awkward. And I haven't officially come out at work, but I just started a new job not too long ago. But if stuff comes out, stuff comes out. At my first real job, actually, I was out because I got my first real job because of polyamory, essentially, because I was friends with this person because we were both poly. So, it's been fun that way. Right?
That's pretty awesome.
But yeah.
Okay, Kory, how about yourself?
Would you repeat the question, please?
This isn't Jeopardy, okay? How out are you?
No, I am out like Pee Wee Herman's dick in a movie theater.
Oh.
Yay! She broke the wall.
Sorry. I don't, like, at work, obviously, I mean, I don't hide it. I mean, if I'm seen out with my man and one of our chew toys or something, it's just like, yeah, we're all together. All good.
Okay, well, good deal.
And, my family knows, and now I have some, like, I've become a swinger as of late, and now I have family members who are actually interested in getting into swinging. So I was like, mission accomplished, getting people to have more sex.
Nice.
Oh, no, right up until you walk in on your mom or your cousin, and you're like, oh, you cannot come to the same club as me. Oh, God.
Good thing we all live in different states, isn't it?
There you go.
Doing it right.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Shane, how about yourself?
I walk down the street with both my wife and my girlfriend, and it just depends on who's on which side that we're holding hands together. As far as online, I'm not very out. That's because my wife has a morality clause on her teaching contract, so I'm not out because my wife cannot be out. But that is what it is.
That sucks, though.
Yeah, that is kind of shitty.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Loving people. How horrible.
Yay, the South.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Danny, how about yourself?
I am out to everyone except Heina's family and the members of my family I don't talk to anymore.
Oh, that's unfortunate. Okay. So,
actually, can I ask a question real quick?
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Why are you not talking to members of your family, Danny?
It's because of my disability, actually. I have an invisible disability. I have fibromyalgia. And there are members of my family that refuse to acknowledge I'm actually disabled. And I have no interest.
Oh, shit. I just lost
that
audio.
Bend to my knee.
Yeah, he's fading in and out.
That's such a shame.
Okay. Did somebody catch that?
Yeah, I'm with Danny. I have fibromyalgia as well. And I think I'm one of the lucky ones that medication actually happens to work for.
Yeah, I've heard of this, and I'm not really quite clear on what exactly happens, but I know people who have it. And yeah, I've heard of people going, it's not a real thing, and they're kind of mocking it or whatever.
The short description is that you feel like your skin's always being like poked or burned, and there's also lots of other little problems that come with it. The rest of the symptoms are kind of a grab bag, but like I get migraines, an inability to concentrate, and loose joints and associated joint.
Yeah, I get a ice pick kind of feeling in my shoulders and my hips, and my left leg goes numb because my joints are loose enough to pinch the nerves every now and then.
My mom has had fibromyalgia for, I don't know, like 15, 20 years. So that's part of a reality that I'm used to living with. It exists.
Luckily, it's not a sexuality thing with my family, because I'm willing to force like my dad to put up with how weird I am. But when it comes to like my health, and everyone's like, "Why don't you have a job?" and I'm like, "I've explained this many times already."
How'd y'all get in? Oh, well, okay, Jeannie, how'd you get into it?
Into poly?
Yeah, sorry.
It was a long trip. It was me being with somebody for, I think it was like 5 or 6 years. We later ended up getting married and then got divorced 2 years after that. But we had actually, my first sexual experience was, or like outside of the relationship or within the relationship, was with my, at the time, boyfriend's best friend's girlfriend, who he had just gotten engaged to. And so we went to a different city, back to her place, and we got drunk and sent the boys pictures of us on the phone with him. And I'm talking like this is a long time ago. Like there's a cord involved and everything, like curly cord, hardwired phone. Like, hey, so we're gonna go we're gonna go fuck each other right now. Like, hope you guys don't mind. And then we hooked up with them. I guess it was kind of like swinging, just couples. Like I wanted both of them, and yeah, like the boys were just in it for the pussy. So we wanted each other, and the guys wanted, to get some strange, and it worked out for a while. And then it just kind of like went from there. Just each little step was like one more exploration. Like why do I have this door? And part of that's from Christianity, which is, okay, so I'm going to like knock down this box. What other boxes am I packing around? Like, what else am I carrying that I don't really need to? What suppositions have I been given that don't apply to me? So I'm like, I started out being bi. Then I got into sort of swinging. Then I got into poly from there. And Christianity kind of fell away along the wayside.
Okay, good deal. All right, Leigh, yourself?
Oh, well, I grew up in a very religious household, right-wing evangelical conservative Christians all the way. And I met my first wife at a nice Christian college, and we ended up getting married. But I always had this thing like something wasn't there. Something was actually missing. And so after several years of being married and having a kid, I really just wasn't happy. And I started to think, can somebody have multiple soulmates? And can somebody actually love someone else, even though they're married to one person? Well, push came to shove, and I ended up getting divorced and meeting someone else. And they were at least open to that idea. And over the course of several years, we ended up doing some soft swinging types of things and not really liking that, and realizing that we really had to have a little bit more than just a simply casual relationship with the people we slept with. And from there, we realized and started to identify ourselves as poly.
Okay, interesting. All right, Heina, yourself?
Well, as I kind of teased earlier, I was raised as a Muslim, and there were no polygamists in my parents' generation or after, but there was a polygamist in my grandparents' generation. It was actually the man, my great uncle, who sponsored all my family to come to America. And his first wife couldn't have kids, but his second wife could. And so that's why he took on a second wife, was to have kids. And that's a pretty common reason, I would say, in the Indian, Pakistani, that sort of subcontinental group. But it's not super common to do it anymore. And in fact, most of the women in my family would say stuff like, oh, if my husband married another woman, I'd divorce his ass and all that. But I remember hearing about it and thinking, I don't really see the problem with this. I like the idea of, having someone else. Like, I have this image in my head of me and my husband both working and coming home, and our wife would be there, and we'd help her with the kids, then we'd all cuddle, and it'd be so sweet. So I always just had this openness to it. And then when I left Islam at age 18, which is its own millions of podcasts on its own to talk about that whole journey, but I sort of questioned everything. I didn't immediately go from Muslim to mainstream American lifestyle. I questioned everything. I was like, I need to figure out what works for me. And I saw the Montel Williams show that they did one episode about polyamory, and then I was on OkCupid, and I started talking with people who were polyamorous on there, including someone who I ended up long distance dating for a while. And I tried my first relationship monogamously because I thought, oh, I'm not even that attractive. I'm not even going to find one boyfriend. How am I going to find like 5 or whatever? But that relationship didn't work out well for many reasons. One of it being that monogamy was not for me. And so after that, pretty much I've been strictly non-monogamous. I mean, there's been times where, I was monogamous by default just because I was busy or didn't find anyone else or was single even. But yeah, I would say it was my apostasy that had a lot to do with it, because when you question such fundamental things about your life, you end up questioning everything.
This seems to be a running theme. Religion kind of playing into it. Kory?
Well, I was raised in a fundamentalist Christian church. I mean, it was old church, small, no plumbing, cemetery behind it. And I got to read the Bible when I was 10. I was like, that's bullshit. And then when I got to the age where I started, we were still forced to go to church until we were 18. But when I got to the age where I started dating, and I kind of had really strong feelings for one person and I had really strong feelings for another person. So I said, well, why can't I do both? I love both my brothers, just in different ways. So I've never been, there's been times when I've been with just one person, but, it's, to me, it's just not natural for me. But right now, my current partner and I, we have made an emotional commitment to each other, and I'm quite a bit of a slut, and so is he. And so we're going to start prowling together and have our own little play toys and just, fuck the rules. Everybody has these poly rules where you got to do poly the right way, but frig it. We're swingers. We do it our own way.
Okay, good deal. Shane, what's your situation?
I stumbled into it because I didn't know it was a thing. My wife she was my girlfriend at the time. We're on our way up to see some family, and we were listening to Dan Savage's Savage Lovecast, and a lady came on there, and she was talking about, needing something more from her relationship, and Dan Savage considers himself, non-monogamish, or monogamish, and then he kind of explained what that meant, and then what open relationships were, and polyamory was, and things like that, and swinging, and he gave a lot of those different explanations, and it made a lot of sense to me and my girlfriend at the time. We were just like, hey, that sounds kind of interesting. What do you think of it? And our take on it was, well, I can't do anything with somebody who I don't have a emotional connection to. Whether it's a friends with benefits or a serious relationship or, even another significant other, there has to be that connection. And now that I'm in it, it's, it seems like it was just, a year and a half ago, we just kind of decided, hey, this is something that we really want to explore. So we started exploring it, and we found our quad almost immediately, and we kind of stayed committed to them until that relationship was solid. And then once that relationship was solid, we all just kind of started exploring everything else. And like Kory, it was just kind of like she was talking about everything and anything, and that's more like relationship anarchy. And we have friends who are kind of in that, and that's kind of along the lines of which direction I happen to be heading towards. And my wife and girlfriends, they they're happy and they're comfortable with what we're doing, but my wife has another friends with benefits that she started talking to recently, so it just kind of made sense for me.
Cool, man. And Danny?
I have never been monogamous.
Okay.
Yay!
Good answer. That was
tease him all
straight
the
to the
time.
point.
Yeah, no, I tease him all the time that he's a gold star poly. Like, he doesn't even carry the taint of monogamy on him.
My first relationship in high school, we agreed that it has to be an open relationship because that's just the kind of people we are. I have zero control over who I'm attracted to, and if everyone is, informed and consenting, I don't see any ethical or moral harm in it. And the last time I felt any kind of actual religious impulse, I was 16, and even then it was neo-paganism, so I don't have any kind of moral baggage around monogamy. I just haven't found any reason to try to make myself monogamous.
How did you get so lucky?
Yeah, I think it's awesome because I never really felt a compulsion to be monogamous. I never ever wanted that because I saw how my fundamentalist, parents and aunts and uncles were, and I said, well, I definitely don't want that. And I'm also way, way up there on the sexuality scale. Like, I'm pretty much horny all the time. It's like
No shit.
the Hulk secret. So, I don't know. I think swinger works a little better for me.
Well, let's Shane, you were talking about, you didn't actually, everybody else kind of mentioned how religion played a role.
I grew up fundamentally religious. My family was a part of a cult. Well, my mom and my grandmother were a part of a cult. And I grew up within the cult, and it was extremely Old Testament religious. Like, when I was 13, it was, my grandmother was just fed up with it, essentially. She had enough of it, and she felt that our pastor was kind of taking things a little bit too far on his third wife. And so she kind of pulled the plug. Like, when I say Old Testament, it was like, I think he bought his second wife. Can't tell you how much it cost in cows or sheep or anything like that, but yeah. But nobody seemed to question it until my grandmother stood up against him, and then she took like half the church away from him. And then he got arrested 2 years later for bigamy. So.
Okay, I'm going to need to have you on a separate thing.
Yeah, we can talk about my exorcism when I was 11.
Okay, yeah.
Oh my gosh, wait.
Yeah.
Oh, you need another show with this.
So,
I need to know about this.
It was pretty epic. I was a little bit traumatized from it, but anyways, I grew up fairly normal. There's no tics anymore. My therapist says I'm good. Medicated.
I debate that.
Hey, damn it.
Be nice.
I am nice. I'm very nice.
All right. Sorry, you were talking about your religious family upbringing or whatever.
My religious history is complicated. My parents separated when I was really young, when I was 5 specifically. And my dad is from a really liberal Christian denomination here in California. On my mom's side of the family are former Catholics, and my grandfather is a biblical literalist, a very off-kilter kind of biblical literalist. He's not part of any particular denomination or faith. He just takes the Bible very seriously. And I was raised reading the Bible and trying to understand the Bible. And if you've ever seriously sat down and read it, it doesn't make a lot of sense.
I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah.
Preach.
I've done that multiple times, trying to make sense of it, both in training to become a pastor myself, and as I was going through the path of getting away from religion and things like that. I've read it multiple times because people kept challenging me. Oh, you just haven't read the Bible right. You haven't read it with an open heart. You have to open it with a prayer or with a spirit of understanding that is only given to you by God. And I'm like...
Or the Quran you have to read in the original English or the original Arabic. I got one.
The original English.
So I actually have delved into the original Hebrew and Aramaic and Greek in my my passion to try to figure it out. Which is why I did move into neo-paganism at a certain point, because my understanding of Mosaic law was that God was speaking specifically to the Jews the entire time. So I was like, well, someone must have been talking to my family at some point then. And I kind of flirted with neo-paganism from across the northern, western European, I don't even know what to call it, because it's not just one group of people. My family is like roughly split between being Norse and Celtic. But
your last name is Samuelson, which is a Nordic sort of name, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
My dad's side of the family is very Swedish.
Oh wait, was that okay to use your last name? I didn't even think about that.
That's fine.
Okay. Sorry.
I'm actually I'm in the same boat as you, Danny, too. Like I did the neo-pagan thing for a while, and that was my part of my exit out of Christianity and into atheism.
Yeah.
Is everybody secular here? Is that a safe assumption?
Hardcore
Praise Jesus. Oh, no.
Very much so.
I'm very much Old Testament. No.
Allahu Akbar.
Well, I mean,
Spaghetti monster.
L'chaim.
Oh, that was good.
I know
So, yeah.
everybody is, except for Leigh. I don't know, Leigh, are you an atheist?
I am very much an atheist. I went through kind of like the phases of grief from being a fundamental Christian all the way through Wiccan, through paganism, through a little bit of Buddhism, Taoism, and eventually became an atheist and then doubled down and became a materialist on top of it. So, I think I'm in the right camp.
Me and Leigh actually have the damn near the same path, except I studied Kabbalah. You know?
Oh.
Yeah. I need some magic to happen in my life. No, not really. It doesn't work. I'm just
It doesn't
telling
work.
you, it doesn't work. I tried real hard.
So yeah, we're all skeptics, I think, is the takeaway from this.
I don't know, because I do worship the Egyptian goddess Bast. There's a lot of cats in my life, and I watch their videos, and I do the traditional awe, which is how you worship them.
Okay, fair.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad the headphones are on so my cats don't hear this.
Wait, do I have to convert? Because I have 2 cats, and they're now staring at me.
I think we all just became Egyptian pagans.
Who doesn't worship pussy?
it's like that. It's like that old proverb.
Nobody on this show.
It's like that old proverb. Cats used to be worshipped in Egypt, and they haven't forgotten this.
Yeah, I've heard that before, yeah. Cats are so standoffish. Cats are just, they come to you when they want to, and I like that.
Nah, these fuckers are attention hogs.
My cats only come to me when they're horny. What does that say?
I don't know. What does that say about you, Shane?
And one of them likes to be spanked real hard. Just saying, don't ask me how I know that answer. I'm just, hey.
I have a pussy in my lap all the time. Sometimes I have 2. He
That
purrs.
sounds interesting. Oh, well.
Mental imagery.
Okay, so
Back on track.
I think all of us are and like I was saying, secular atheists are, and I wonder if that plays sort of a role in if more poly people happen to be that way because they happen to be more open-minded. I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not. I'm sure it has something to do with it.
Okay, so my poly pool is pretty big here where I live, and I live in the South. And there are a lot of pagans. I know of a couple of Mormons. I know of some very liberal Christians. And I know of a hardcore right-wing girl who is also polyamorous and bisexual.
Interesting.
So, yeah. So, I would say the demographics certainly aren't leaning towards conservative, but the demographics are pretty spread across the board. From just the people I know, and I know about 700-800 poly people just in my general area.
I was gonna say, like, my experience has been, granted, it's been like Alaska and Vermont, so they are what they are. But most of the people that I know that are poly are people that have just like turned everything upside down and looked at their life in real hard fact terms. So they tend to be more analytical, maybe not always secular, but they're willing to, like, if they are religious, they tend to poke fun at their own religion as well. Like they realize that there are flaws. But they are generally people who look at their lives specifically and say, does this make sense to me? Yes or no. And what they choose is what they choose, and that's fine. But it's not just a given anymore. And I think that that's where a lot of people end up coming to poly is, does this make sense for me? Because they've thought to challenge it.
Yeah, most of the Christians that I know that are poly listen more to the, love one another and treat everyone like you would like to be treated, and less to the part where Jesus says marriage is one man and one woman. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of interesting to see them kind of like that. It's cognitive dissonance, but it's to the point of, I'll listen to this part of the Bible, but this is bullshit. This makes sense to me. This is not. This doesn't apply. This was Paul saying that Jesus said it, or this is, this is whichever one of the people who wrote the Bible. Oh, obviously that part isn't important for my life. It's my relationship with Jesus that's more important.
Well, that's most Christians, I think. They pick and choose what they want to believe. I mean, regardless of what they say, I think.
I mean, hey, a lot of the Muslims that I grew up with pick and choose their religion, and that they like to pretend that polygamy is not a thing in Islam, even though it definitely is.
Yeah, and it was in the Bible too. I mean,
yeah,
in the Old Testament.
Well, more specifically polygyny, in that, a man could have multiple wives and concubines or whatever. I mean, it's not like women were allowed to have as many as they wanted.
Stone any bitch who ever cheated on her husband. Damn it, that's in the Old Testament.
Well, I mean, the story isn't necessarily an endorsement.
Hina, I believe that there's a new fatwa that women can have up to 4 husbands.
Actually, one of my cousins is a religious, she's a religious teacher. She's actually been trained in this. And she jokes all the time that someone's going to issue a fatwa saying women can have up to 4 husbands in Islam, because the only justification they give for the reason why men can have more than one wife and women can't have more than one husband is paternity. They say, then how do we know whose kid it is? But now we have paternity tests. So, why not?
Well, but does it matter? If you are a family, does it matter?
It shouldn't, but they're going off of very, stereotypical gender roles of men, are possessive of their property, which includes their women, and are possessive of their children. Yeah. I mean, obviously it's bullshit, but that's how they think. In fact, I've even read, I looked it up because I always get curious about, what do Muslims have to say now that paternity tests are available? And the answer is, oh, well, men are just naturally more jealous. And I'm like, have you met my husband?
Yeah, gender roles are bullshit anyway. For the most part, they're social constructs, I think, brought on by religious, patriarchy mostly.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Danny, I have a question for you.
Uh-huh.
With your grandfather being a biblical literist, when it says in the Bible that a man can have multiple wives in the Old Testament, and then Jesus says in the New Testament that a marriage is between one man and one woman, how does he address those two, I would say, contradictions?
Good question.
Mark 22 through 24, I come not to absolve the law, but to fulfill it. So all of Mosaic law still applies except for those things in which Jesus contradicts it, in which case Jesus' order takes precedence because he's the latest iteration of the law.
That's convenient.
I'm so laughing.
But hold on a second. If he's fulfilling the law, then if he says anything that's... Never mind. My head hurts. Damn it.
Jingle keys.
He fulfills the law by becoming the next great prophet. That was the point of the Messiah, was to take charge of the Israel society, the Jewish society. So all of what Jesus says is correct. Therefore, anything from before Jesus is now wrong, though it wasn't wrong at the time. But all laws not contradicted by Jesus continue to have effect.
My brain hurts.
Ow.
Let's pull out this nosedive before it gets...
All right, so back to, we're actually supposed to be talking about poly, right?
I think so.
Let me go to a more directed question, and any of y'all are welcome to chime in if you all have your own experiences, but specifically on this one, I want to ask Kory a question. She is poly, but she's also a swinger, and she has, apparently there's an issue there. Can you want to explain that, Kory?
Yeah, I've had people, because I was poly first, and so I don't know. I guess as I kind of developed, I found out, the swinger community, there's a lot of close ties there. So, with the whole non-monogamy thing. And I noticed that people, poly people, look down on swingers because they say, oh, it's about love, not sex. and just things like that. And then swingers look down on poly people, are like, oh, you should commit to one person and then just do this. And I don't know. I don't like all the rules and regulations. I just that's why I consider myself just non-monogamous, because I don't want to deal with all the poly drama and all that stuff.
Yeah, to go along with that, my wife and I my wife actually passed away, but she and I actually ran a Yahoo group called PA Swinger Friends years ago, and there is almost a divide between the poly people and the swinger people, and it seems like one is to the other is, oh, they're only halfway, or they're just not committed, or just it's almost a derogatory situation. And in a way, the way that my wife and I would actually look at it is that there are people who just they don't want that emotional attachment, and that's fine. And there's other people who do want an emotional attachment, and that works for them also. There's neither a problem, but for some reason there's small groups of very vocal people who take it upon themselves to throw the hammer of judgment down because it doesn't fit what they want. So
yeah, in my experience, it's always been that there's an umbrella term for, essentially everything that's non-monogamy, ethical non-monogamy. And underneath it is polyamory, swinging, and then open relationships. Now, a lot of people say swinging is open relationships, but then the open relationship people are like, no, we don't go to the clubs and stuff like that, But it causes a lot of issues when, like, the various groups, it's just like, or not just like, but it's like, gay people who put bisexual people down is like, and telling them to pick a side, or it's like the entire LGBT community that puts down transgender people. And like, you hear these lesbians and gays and bisexual people who sit here and like, transgender people are weird, or, blah, blah, blah. And you're just like, y'all are a part of the same movement. Y'all need to be,
or just genderqueer in general. Like,
right.
Like why are we not one people? Like, why is there such a fight?
Yeah,
it's so frustrating.
I definitely fall into the that we are all working together. We all want the ability to be seen as normal people, as your everyday general people, but we just happen to do things a little bit differently. We happen to feel that we can, love more than one person, or we can have sexual relationships with other people, without it being a situation where, we're offending even those that we think we should be in our own community and our own wheelhouse.
I was going to say, or just even relationships in general, sexual or not, they're still important. Like, those are, like nobody gets to define my relationship with anybody else except me and the person that's involved, and anybody else that's involved within that.
True.
I definitely feel the whole, like, how, especially the kinds of poly people they get to go on, like, mainstream media, they always go on and on about how it's all about love and it's not about sex, and they're all too busy crying and cuddling and scheduling to actually have sex. And I'm, like, sitting over here like, nah, I like fucking. I want to go fuck. Like, So yeah, I definitely feel that, but I feel like part of why there is some of the divisions that were brought up is because everyone's fighting so hard for the scraps that the mainstream want to give us. Like, everyone wants to be the normal ones. So you get swingers going, we're just like you, we're normal, we're married, on weekends we fuck other people, but otherwise we're normal. And poly people saying, we're just like you, we're not about just having sex, we're about love. And then you get, a lot of gay and lesbian people saying, we're just like you straight people, we like only one gender. So you see how that goes. Like, it's just trying to relate too hard with the cisgender, monogamous, straight mainstream. And I'm honestly on the side of fuck them. I'm not normal. I never will be normal. I will never look normal in American society. Hello, white supremacy. So, I'm okay with being weird, and they're just going to have to deal with my weird.
I am really with you on that, Heina, because there's so many of those people out there who just put another group down to lift themselves up. But why do you have to define it specifically as something? Why can't you just be who you are and how you feel? Like, I like a lot of sex, so So there's my partner. So it works out really well for the two of us, what we're, looking to do. And
that actually goes against human nature, though. I mean, human nature is to define the world around themselves. I mean, back in stone...
I know, but can you really define when you have these chemicals in your brain that are, because when it comes down to it, the whole part about love, and when you're, in the midst of sex, your brain's not really working all that well.
It depends on which brain you're talking about. Thank you very much.
Well, you know what I'm talking about.
I mean, I personally have no problem with defining and labels. I just my penultimate label is not like you, and fuck you if you are going to discriminate against me because of that, because I'm probably not like you.
Well,
it's
I'm
just
a
one of those
slut,
things.
And so I've been slut shamed a lot.
Yeah, it's tough.
So, and my partner does not judge me for being a slut because, ta-da, he is too. So, works out well.
I was actually talking about doing another show about the gender, non-binary gender, because that's something that I've heard quite a bit. And
people get so mad about it.
I made Ari get on the freaking Skype with me one day and explain everything to me because I was like, all right, I know it's a thing, but it's something I don't get because I'm not it. So prepare to be interrogated. Question number 1.
I actually got schooled by my oldest child, because they were like, yeah, so I am non-binary. And I was like, okay, help me understand that so I understand what you're going through. And they're 13, so whenever I would talk to them, they would be like, it really wigs me out when you call me son. I'm like, but you're my son. He goes, I know, but I'm also your child. You can say it that way. And I'm like, I'm 35 years old. You can't, oh, wait, I need to, let me check my privilege here, even as your father.
Oh, yes, they can.
Yeah. Okay, so let's discuss this. How do I do this? And he's like, or they're like, just try to work on it. And I'm like, you've got a really deep voice. And they're like, and? I was like, and I'm like, is there anything else I need to know? And they're like, oh yeah, I'm bisexual too. And I'm like, okay, so let's have this conversation. Well, really, I'm hetero-romantic, pansexual. And I'm like, you're 13. We've gone beyond the birds and the bees, and we are now talking about ducks. Help me out here. And they laughed at me for a good long time. And then my daughter was like, she's like, I'm cis. I'm totally cis. And I'm like, how do you know that? You're 11. She's like, I'm cis. Oh, but I am bi.
oh my god. Okay.
Welcome to being a parent.
There's too much.
Oh man, I'm so glad I'm not a parent. I could not deal with that.
Amen, sister.
I'd be like, you spark up this joint, daughter. Yeah, I know you're 9. But listen.
Let's just deal with this. No, but they were just like, they were both sitting there, and I'm like, okay, just sit me down and let's have this discussion. And so here I am, the 35-year-old, learning from a 13 and 11-year-old their gender identity and their sexuality and what that meant for them. And it put things in so much perspective for me that it gave me a huge amount of respect for, like Heina and Ari and all these people I know, what they go through when they don't have parents who can understand this, or friends, or loved ones and things like that, and
a community.
Right. And now here my daughter is telling me, please don't tell mom. She won't understand. And my son is like, mom knows what I am and everything, and she just doesn't understand it. I said, did y'all sit down and talk to her? No, she doesn't even want to hear it. And I'm like, how does that make y'all feel? And my son's like, they're like, I don't give a crap. And my daughter's like, just don't tell my mom that I'm bi and I've had girlfriends. And then I'm like, you've had girlfriends? Who
At
are
11?
What are their names? Yes, at 11. And I'm like, what did you do with them? Can we? Oh, God, I don't know how to deal with this. It was an emotional time for me, and I can't smoke or anything, so just drinking was on the table, and I was just like, oh, I'm going to need so much vodka and rum. Where's the rum at? Yeah, so that's my story with kids. Yeah.
Can I ask Lucas, are your daughters, like, they know that you're poly, are they both straight, and are they both monogamous? Like, how do your kids react to you?
Well, it's actually kind of interesting. Both my daughters identify somewhat as cisgendered. The eldest, she's on the autistic spectrum, and right now considers herself, for lack of a better term, asexual to a degree. She does kind of lean a little bit heterosexual, but not too much. My youngest, she almost seems to have also become asexual, where she's just like, I like people, not really interested in that way, and I'm okay with that. So they've actually have a really interesting perspective on things. They're not upset about my being queer. In fact, when I did come out to them, they were like, "Oh, okay." We have several transgender friends so they've had exposure to that. My one daughter's best friend, he's transgendered and treats me like his dad. So we have a very when it comes down to gender, we're not trying to push any roles. And honestly, with the amount of information out there, I can't even begin to start to educate them. I can just say, listen, this is what I understand, having a lot of people that I've met over my course of my life that have been transgendered or gay, lesbian, bisexual, and this is how I've treated them with respect. And then they give me their perspective, and it's actually a very open conversation, which is a very positive thing.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
That'll do it for this episode of the Podunk Polymath podcast. I want to thank my roundtable for coming on: Jeannie, Shane, Kory, Heina, Danny, and Leigh. It was a great discussion, and it will be to be continued on the next episode. Of course, as usual, you can check out my page at podunkpolymath.com, thepodunkpolymath.com. Music was by ... Go check their music out at cdbaby.com/cd/... Facebook, facebook.com/thepodunkpolymath. Twitter at podunkpolymath. Email podunk.polymath@gmail.com. YouTube, Google Plus under Podunk Polymath. You can become part of the Patreon posse on Patreon, patreon.com, the Podunk Polymath. There's a call-in phone number, 615-378-7676, which spells Popo, and also freedom is implied there, so come check it out. Give me a call, please, somebody. Of course, there's also the group now, the closed group, the Podunk Polymath Podcast Posse. Say that 5 times fast. You can find that at facebook.com/group/Podunk Polymath Podcast Posse. Separated by periods, all those words are. Of course, you can go to the side of the page. You'll see my tweets, buttons for the PayPal donate, where you can subscribe on RSS, Google Play, iTunes, and Stitcher. Also, you can go to the Patreon page from there, from the button that's on the side of the page. There's recent posts, recent comments as well, and you can follow the show on WordPress. So, again, I want to thank everybody for coming on and doing this. This was great. It's difficult to get a bunch of people like that on short notice, and all thanks goes to them for juggling their schedules so they could do it. Hope you all enjoy it. And, of course, part 2, like I said, will be out the week after. So until next time, y'all take it easy now, okay?